Hello students, today we are going to do a lab called the Genetics STEM Lab. This lab has three parts to it. Part one is the data collection right here. This whole front page is data collection, and this is what we're going to be focusing on today, just this front side of this sheet. On the back, you'll see it says part two, data computations. That's for tomorrow. And then part three, constructed response, claim evidence reasoning, otherwise known as CER. We're going to be doing this tomorrow as well. So let's just focus on this part one of the data collection right here. So here's the intro. You and some of your friends enjoy the same sports, like the same food, and may even have similar haircuts. But there are noticeable differences between your appearances. So here we go. Part one, data collection. Collect data on the following phenotypes, physical traits of all of your classmates. A, dimples or no dimples. You'll need to smile to see that. Dimples are usually noticeable in the cheeks and maybe even the chin, so look for that. B, natural hair color, black hair, brown hair, light brown, blonde, and red. And then finally, eye color, brown, blue, green, and hazel. Hazel's kind of a combination of some green and brown. Some students might even say, I have blue eyes, but sometimes they're green. I guess for today, just go with the color you have today, or what color are they normally the most, okay? So that's your personal preference. What is your eye color, okay? And I just want to point out these phenotypes are not up for debate. You know, we're not having arguments about whether or not a student has blue eyes or green eyes. Just go with what the majority of the group says. No need to debate it. So before we actually look at this data table, I failed to mention, don't forget to put your name up here. We will probably collect these sheets before you leave class today. And then there's a special line here that says class size. So we're going to need to know the actual number, the number of your class, how many students are in that class. Your teacher will help you with that. So unfortunately, we cannot count anybody who's absent today for this lab. Okay, so data collection. Before we collect any data, we need to figure out who is in our group. And you'll notice there's a line here. It says students in group blank. So remember, your teacher told you whether or not you're in group 1, 2, or 3. So write down your group number up here. So let's just pretend you're in group 1, okay? And then go ahead and write your name for number 1. That way we all have our name listed as number 1 on the sheet. The names that are going to follow are the names that are in your group. Okay, so what are the names of the other students in your group? And you might have 7 students, you might have 8 or 9 students. It all depends on your class size. So first name is fine. You don't need to get the last name unless you have 2 names that are 2 similar names in the same class. Then you might have to use the abbreviation or the initial, I should say, of the last name. Once you have everybody's name down in your group, you're then ready. Every group is going to need to have some kind of leader. So once you have identified who the leader is, that leader is basically going to help the group, organize this information and figure out who we're going to start with. So whenever we do group share, we're always going to start with someone. It could be the leader or it could be the person next to the leader, and we're going to go clockwise. Okay, we're going to go clockwise around the group. And everybody is going to mention what their phenotype is, okay? So the first thing we're going to figure out are dimples. So you're going to put yes or no, does this student have dimples? And we're going to go around the circle one at a time to figure that out, okay? We don't want to shout across the group and debate whether or not they have dimples or not. We're just going to go around the group and we're going to focus on one person at a time, okay? Once you've gone around the circle, then you're going to start over with hair color, and you're going to write down what is the student's hair color. And the hair colors again are black, brown, light brown, blonde, and red. And we're talking natural color. So if your hair is colored, we won't count that. That's not a physical genetic trait. What is your actual hair color? And then finally, go around the group, go around the circle, and do eye color: brown, blue, green, or hazel, and just write that in the table. Once everybody in your group has their phenotypes down, we're ready to move on to the next part. And down below it says this: total up the numbers of your group and collect the data from other groups to get total numbers for the whole class. Okay, so let's stop there. Remember, we are group 1, right? So group 1 data, we're going to go down here to dimples or no dimples. So how many students in your group had dimples, and how many students in your group did not have dimples? Once you've looked at that, move on to hair color. So all these are the hair color ones. How many students had black hair? How many students had brown hair? How many students had light brown, blonde, red? So include all that data. You're just tabulating how many you had in each group. And then finally do the same for eye color. So how many had brown eyes in your group? How many have blue? How many of you have green? And how many of you had hazel? Okay? Once that is done, the leader of your group is going to travel to the other groups, groups 2 and 3, and they are going to share this information with those groups. That means a leader from group 2 and a leader from group 3 will also visit your group. Okay? So there's going to be 3 students walking around and sharing this data with every group. Once all the data has been collected, so imagine we know how many kids have dimples and no dimples in group 2. We know how many students have dimples and no dimples in group 3. Then we can figure out what is the total class number. What's the total student number for dimples and no dimples? And we're going to do that for all of the traits. So before we leave class today, we should have a total number for each of these phenotypes. And if there is some time left, you could figure out individually using your Chromebook or calculator, you could figure out the whole class percentage for each of those traits. And those directions are found on the back of the sheet. I'm not going to go over and do a tutorial on that, but the directions are pretty straightforward, and you have been able to do percentages in math before. So this is really good review for that. You should be able to do that. Okay, so that concludes the lab tutorial or preview. Good luck today. Remember, there should be no debates about who has what kind of hair color. Please do one student at a time. Please go around a circle and help each other out. All right, thank you.